can do it. You can do it. Yay! This hangout on air is live. Have yourself. I can't do this anymore. I don't know why I can't sing it anymore. Have yourself a very witchy Vlogmas. Day 7! Day 7! I did that yesterday too. I was trying to sing the song and I was like, whoa, I'm going way off key here. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Happy new moon. Happy new moon. I think today's subject might coincide quite nicely with this new moon in Sagittarius, talking about fire and turning up the heat on your life. Well, there's already a conversation going on here. Hi, Anna. Hi, Sierra. Hi, Janine. Hi, you guys. Hi, Victoria. Wow, you guys are just chit-chatting away this morning. Mary is here. Rachel. Hello. Hello. How are you all feeling? I'm very blurry today. These go in and out of blurriness and clarity. But I think we have really lucked out, especially because we've had some major weather, that it hasn't been too glitchy beyond that. So that is a good thing. Okay, everyone's just saying hi. That's nice. Someone's talking about human hibernation here, Janine. It's cold here. I'm curled up in my blanket. Well, guess what? I just was like, really, really warm when I went to check the thermostat. I had my thermostat turned up to 78. I'm one of those people too, and I live in Southern California. I think this actually goes along with talking about upper limits today. Us Californians, Southern Californians, you get used to a very small range of weather. And that becomes like your set point. So when you travel, it's shocking what other people can withstand. They'll be wearing like a light jacket. You're like in the full down thing with like only this much of your face showing. People are like, it's 59. It's 59 degrees. What is wrong with you? And you're like, I'm a Californian. Yeah, Daniel Vitalis used to call us, what did he call humans to be funny? Fragilis, something, Homo fragilis or something, Homo sapien fragilis. And he would recommend that people slept, you know, like in a really cold room, and that they wouldn't use their heaters and their air conditioning and expose themselves to the elements so that they would be strong like ox. I'm going to leave that to Daniel Vitalis and wear my cozy smushy socks and my sweaters. Thank you, Rachel. I've really been loving these too. I've been having such a good time. Sierra is at work in San Francisco and would love to hibernate. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so, oh, I look okay. I look okay. Thank you, makeup gods. There has already been crying this morning. This is a subject I could not do the podcast Hippie Witch or any videos or any newsletters or anything like that for Kick-Ass Witch if I myself was not, I think, getting something out of it. It's selfish in that way sometimes because I'm always learning and always growing. Life happens, like we were talking about, like poop happens yesterday. And I need this stuff to carry me through and to continually remember to expand. And as I was eating my breakfast this morning, and I was thinking about some of you, I'm not going to say it right now because I don't want to make myself cry, but I was thinking about how some of you really helped me reach beyond my upper limits. I don't even know if you know that you're doing it. And I started to cry over my pumpkin porridge that I made myself this morning. And I was like, no, don't cry. Don't cry. It's not time yet. And try not to cry on camera because crying on camera is not fun. So this subject gets me very emotional. So upper limits is an idea that was introduced to me, and I think the rest of the personal development and New Agey world, by Hendricks. He wrote a book called The Big Leap. I believe I first heard about this when Lilu Masay back in the day when I was watching Lulu Massey all the time, she had Gay on her show quite a few times, and he would talk about this idea of upper limits. And let me just put it in Gay's words. I have some quotes here that I took from his book. I took them from Goodreads because it's easy just to cut and paste. And this book is filled with good quotes. So I knew I could go over to Goodreads and find good stuff right away. And I was right about that. So let's see. Okay, so this is what I put on Facebook, and I think down below here too. Your capacity, no, that's not correct, Joanna. Where did it go? Oh, maybe I didn't cut and paste it into my little PDF. That's fine. I'll just read it right here because I know it's right here. Each of us has an inner thermostat setting. Okay, focus. Each of us has an inner thermostat setting that determines how much love, success, and creativity we will allow ourselves to enjoy. When we exceed our thermostat setting, we will often do something to sabotage ourselves, causing us to drop back into the old familiar zone where we feel secure. So it's funny how these episodes start like dovetailing into themselves, and then how it always echoes back in my own life in a really spooky way. But where do I even start? I don't know how autobiographical I want to get with this, but my mind immediately wants to go there. But basically, we all have a set point on how much happiness, how much money, how much love we can experience. And again, this is based on how you were programmed, how you were raised, what you were conditioned to expect for your life. And when you get above that, for most people, we tend to freak out. But we usually don't know we're freaking out. So it presents itself as an illness or a changing of the mind. That's a really common one when I've worked with BizWitch coaching calls. It's a theme. Believe me, it is a theme. If you have your own online business and you feel like you keep changing your mind about what that business is, or anytime you get a little bit of traction, you're like, what if I went over here? It's often presents that way, or it presents as just like full-blown self-sabotage, like doing something really obnoxious that you wouldn't normally do to like blow everything up. Or one of my favorite techniques for self-sabotage is just checking out and hiding. I'm a hider. I'm just like, don't look at me, don't look at me, until the scary success goes away. And then I'm like, whew, good thing I escaped that. And this really shows up too. This is kind of the blessing and the curse of an experience I had this year of taking on more coaching clients than I had time for, because I had reached an upper limit. And maybe I'll talk about this later. And I deeply love and enjoy my coaching clients, but I learned so much this year. I really, really listened. I think I became a great coach in 2018 because I really started understanding it's about listening and reflecting people back at themselves so they can hear what they're saying and what they're experiencing. And something again and again and again and again and again that kept coming up was women in relationships with men that were not serving them, but they were afraid to leave the relationship because they were afraid that was as good as it got. They didn't want to be alone. For some people, they're afraid they can't make it on their own financially, which is something I've had experience with. Or they just feel like maybe this is just what love is. They have like a upper limit on love, on how good they can feel. Some people have an upper limit on just how happy and lucky and joyful you can get before you start getting this sensation in the back of your mind that like the shoe is going to drop. I better not enjoy this because it won't last. And so you like ruin the good times while they're here because you're waiting for the bad times to happen. And because life you know, the law of rhythm. Life ebbs and flows, and it does go up and down and up and down, but we often ruin the fun, happy, joyful parts because we're just hyper vigilant and waiting for something to go wrong. So let's see if anybody get autobiographical, please. Well, let me pull it together so I don't start crying, because something about what I was thinking about when I was eating my breakfast, it started to bring out the ugly cry, and the ugly cry is like so deep. You know, it's deep when you're like, so I don't know if I can handle it today. We'll have to see. I love the personal shit. Mary writes. So Mary clearly and thoroughly identifies as a writer. It's her last name here, and I think that's really powerful and worth pointing out. But she said, I am like that with my writing. It's like I can't finish a novel because, oh my God, what if it gets published? Hello. I shall high five you. I understand that, Mary. I do. Here's something I can get autobiographical about. I had 2 upper limits do this year. They like crashed into each other. I spoke on Patreon a lot. I feel a different level of being able to let my hair down on Patreon. And I apologize if you're a patron and you don't love this about me, but I have used that space as a place to be more thoroughly myself and to talk about like my insecurities or like what I'm going to do next or what I'm working on, things like that. So if you're there hanging out with me on Patreon, you've probably gathered and put all of this together to some degree. But the 2 upper limits were really about when I was doing the Saturn's Day evening post for my podcast, which was me just showing up on Saturn's Day, Saturday, and just riffing, being like, like I'm being here on these podcasts, just totally being myself. All of a sudden, the people were coming, and I did not know why the people were coming. My podcast was like growing and growing and growing. I think right now where it's averaging, it's about 6,000. Sometimes it gets up to 9,000 downloads per episode in the first 2 weeks. And then it continues to grow as it sits there. But for some reason, it's those first 2 weeks that I focus on. And at the beginning of the year, I noticed it was like rapidly climbing. And I felt it was in direct proportion to the Saturn's Day evening post, because I was getting tons and tons and tons of email of people being like, I love this. Oh my God. And I don't know. It was an upper limit I hit where all of a sudden I was afraid of the people who were being so nice to me. I was like, I'm talking to 6,000 people right now. Oh my God. And then I got this kind of stranger danger thing going on. So maybe there's like, you know, me and math. Woo! I was going to try to say 5,999 amazing people. But then that one person, which did not happen, by the way. I want you to know this did not happen. One person that chooses to be a bully or a dick to me. This definitely goes back to my high school bullying experiences, because I was a nerd. This is a short story. I was a super nerd, made fun of, teased for being a nerd when I was a kid. I thought I could solve my problems by becoming super popular. It took me some years to achieve that. I figured out how to do it. I did it I was not having a sexual life. I was not sexually active, but I did it by presenting myself in a very, very sexy way. And it was like, done. And then also putting on this like cool girl attitude, and that worked. It worked. And then it was even told to me, one of my bullies told a mutual friend of ours that they felt I needed to be brought down. And I was so afraid in high school that I would hide out in the library. And then eventually I started hiding out at my boyfriend's house. My parents were going through a divorce, so I could hide out at home. and like delete. This was back in the dinosaur days of voice, not voicemails, but having like an answering machine. And the school has an automatic thing where it calls your house to tell on you. I'll just delete that because my parents were off, you know, trying to like have a life. It was, I grew up in a really restrictive, involved, loving, like family all up in each other's business. And all of a sudden, both my parents were like, goodbye, right when this was happening. So I ended up leaving high school and getting my GED. So that's how deeply it affected me. So I think when I was doing Saturn's Day Evening Post and all of a sudden I'm like, ah! I think it just brought up this upper limit. Don't get too big for your britches, Joe. Who do you think you are? And how far can I go before someone decides I need to be brought down? So that terrified me. It was really, really scary. And then speaking of divorce, this is something I'm not going to talk about here that I have talked about on Patreon, but I've been going through a very long, the world's longest divorce. I'm thoroughly, it's been years now, like all emotionally exercised through it. But I am completely on my own financially now. And my bills are to just live, to survive, to eat food, and to pay my rent is $4,000 a month. And I can make that every month in my business, and sometimes $4,000 to $5,000 a month in my business. $5,000 is really nice because then we're going to the movies and maybe we can go on a little beach trip, or I can buy myself something new, or I can do something fun and special for my son. But there's no wiggle room there for something to go wrong. You know, to have like a real emergency or anything like that. There's no room there to like really grow and expand. And I noticed I got scared. I bumped up against the upper limit. Keep in mind, I live in Los Angeles too. And I don't even mind telling you all of this. My rent is over $2,100 a month. And so it's like, expensive to live here. Like our gas is more expensive. It keeps going up over $4 a gallon. It kind of goes down to like $3.30 and then back over $4. So you just start, the cost of living here is expensive. You mostly have to pay everywhere you park. And then also I'm a foodie and I'm really into health, but I'm also really into like trying new foodie things. So that gets expensive too. So that's like where all my money goes. But I noticed I got scared when I was 100% on my own financially. And then that's when instead of leaning into the gift from the universe that were all these new podcast listeners, all these new people going, hey, oh my God, I love your work. I love you so much. Instead of, I've never raised my prices on my coaching, not once. The only time I raised my prices was when you all asked me to. It was when, it was like the second round, I think, of the Psycho Spiritual Wheel of the Year. I think I was about 2 years into it. And people kept saying, you really need to charge more for this. You really need to charge more for this. And so I started charging $50 a module. And I just thought that was like, oh my God, can I do this? I don't know. And now people are starting to tell me that about the Queen program. And I think even the last time I ran Queen said, this is the last time it will be at this price. And then I did not raise the price. And so now people are starting to ask me about that. Like, you could double your prices and it would be more than fair. And I think that's an upper limit for me. So at the beginning of the year, instead of, really like leaning into the people who were there and showing up and really promoting what I have to offer, I just started piling on coaching clients and taking on a lot of coaching and getting into this dollar for hours paradigm that I had preached against in the past. Like in my Biz Witch videos, like teaching people, I'm really good at getting someone from a place of leaving their job to replace their income having their own online business. That's something I'm very proud that I was able to do for myself. I'm very comfortable, though, in this $4,000 to $5,000 a month land, but it's not safe. And I think that it's not safe. It's not safe because like I said, if there's an emergency or something, there's not a lot left over to invest and things like that. And so that upper limit bumped up against the scary all the people upper limit. And so I have been thinking about this so much this year. And I'm going to end this autobiographical rant by saying what I was crying over my pumpkin porridge over. We'll see if I can handle it. I don't think I can. Oh my God. Where's something to fan myself? Okay, hold on. I shall fan myself with this. The very first Christmas card I got was from Teresa. Thank you. It's so cute. You shall be my fan. Let's do it. Okay, so I was thinking about this woman who just showed up. She has not been around as long as many of you have. Her name is Karen. And she would go on Patreon and like pledge more than the current levels that I was offering. She did this a couple times. So if I forget what the numbers were, but if my highest level was 5, she would pledge 8. Or now my highest level is 10. I think she pledged like 12. But I think like she's just like pulling me forward, pulling me forward, pulling me forward. And then she actually, when I was asking people here in one of the first Vlogmas videos, I'm shaking. Oh my God. She said, I said, what do you guys want me to talk about? And she's like, can we talk about the Queen and going forward in 2018? And I was like, she is totally doing that because I am not promoting Queen like I should be promoting it right now. And I totally am going to be doing a couple of these Vlogmases, like really leaning into the Queen and talking about like how to empower yourself using this archetype. But because it's been amazing for me. It's the thing that got me, like I said, when I was like ready to reach for the shore and like I need the Queen, I recognized that I had hit an upper limit. And this is work that I do. That's why I say I do the Queen program along with you guys, or any program. It's like I'm always working on this stuff for myself. But I feel like Karen kind of landed in my life as this angel who is like, come on, take another step forward. Come on, expand. You're so much bigger than this. Expand, expand, expand. And there's quite a few of you. I feel like I know who you are. And some of you have been around for years. Some of you have been around almost since the beginning. And I feel you there, like on the other side of my upper limits, always just so loving and supportive. So I got through it without crying. It's a little wet, but this is one of the most amazing, I cannot emphasize enough how special my business is. And I don't mean that because of me. I mean that because of you all. I love being able to serve people and help them expand, but then it always comes back on me where I feel supported too. It's incredible. Oh, Sierra, I will seriously vouch for you and that program whenever I can. It's bringing me to tears how proud I am of you. Stop it. Oh my God, Sierra's like that too. And she's so young. That's what kills me. She has so much wisdom. I've learned a lot from you, Sierra, because you're so supportive and you're always like, you know, giving my work a shout out and stuff. I really appreciate it. Samantha, this is hitting so close to home, right? That's something I noticed too when I went to PatreCon, which is the conference for Patreon, is I was like, I knew this already from YouTube. I had already observed this. But I observed it at PatreCon as well, that witches are over-delivering compared to what maybe we're delivering the perfect amount and other people are under-delivering. But I notice people that are very successful that talk about other subjects are not apologetic in the way that we are in this witchy community about charging money for our services, tarot readers, people who do angel readings, oracle readings, coaching, things like that. Our community, I really feel, has this collective shadow and this collective upper limit. And I want to be one of the ones that talks about this and helps us all rise together, which again is like such a queen thing. Queens help queens. Like, if you find yourself feeling jealous of someone else who has more views on their videos or more Instagram followers, check that. Why is that happening? You know, if you find yourself like taking swipes or gossiping or talking about another woman, like, why are you doing that? Like, what is she reflecting back at you? And how is she soaring past your upper limits? You know what I mean? And then join forces with her energetically. And I don't even mean reaching out to her and being like, let's be friends. I'm just saying, like, start celebrating her success. And I think that I'm speaking to women because I have queen on the mind, but this is true of anybody. Like, celebrate the success of other people. And I just think this poverty mentality and this money shame that I see getting better and better and better all the time, I feel like it's time to just be like, for all of us, for all of us. So that was just an observation. So health is expensive, right? Yes. Somebody tell me about it. Yes. Mary writes, being bullied is the worst. I hate thinking about it happening to my daughter. She's 8 and it's already started happening to other kids in her grade. I know, these little kids. Does anybody feel like the internet has exacerbated this, or politics, the way that I believe someone has come in and personally divided us from a foreign, I think a foreign entity has come in and preyed upon our prejudices and purposely divided us, because a strong country is a united country. I'm talking about America. But they whipped us into this sort of hyper partisanship where we're attacking each other and weakening ourselves as a whole. And I think the internet is the main driving force for this. And I feel like that is trickling down to our kids. I don't know if if I'm projecting something onto that or if I'm making that up in my mind, but that's what I see. And I think it's really important to teach your kids when they're very little how to stand up for themselves, how to have amazing self-esteem. Hi, Melissa. Morning, witches. Ha, ha, ha. I avoided the crying. I'm very proud about that. Okay, Samantha. Oh, Samantha, let's see. My God, yes. And this is something that nobody talks about. I know, we can't talk about money. We can talk about fucking. We can talk about low self-esteem. We can talk about how we were traumatized as children, but talk about money and everybody's like, how dare you? You know, it's like, I think we have so much shame around this, and maybe not even the witchy community, maybe in the spiritual community, because there was such a message for so long about like charging money for spiritual anything is wrong. And it's harder for a rich man to get through the eye of a needle than it is for him to get into heaven. And like all these spiritual messages that I think when you get into a spiritual business, it seems to me that that's an upper limit that so many of us hit. Samantha, you're on fire. You are on fire. Fire. Sagittarius, new moon. Plus, how many of us in this community have been able to go from stable to explosion of leveling up where people can see the process? Yes. Yeah. Let's do that too. Like, let's share our process with each other. I don't know if I explained that well, but there aren't many of us to follow on the journey above our limit, above our limit. It is always maxed out. Yeah. And you really never know, like Instagram is such a liar, right? You really never know how someone's doing behind the scenes. I have worked with so many people that have much bigger followings than I do, especially on Instagram, that's for sure. But on YouTube, like they have no money. They have no money. And they're just giving away they have tons to offer too. This is not a reflection of them not being of value or not serving. They're just serving it up for free, like day after day after day after day after day. And they're working their butts off. And then a tragedy happens. And then, you know, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see. So yes, arm in arm, forward, witches, together. Have I gotten too far off this upper limits talk here? I think we'll kick off next week talking about the Queen Monday or Tuesday, and definitely pop culture. I can't decide which I want to lead with, but joyful stuff. Let's have a very joyful Monday through Friday, because I'm going to try to be getting these vlogs up on the weekends so I can sleep in. But I'll be back here 8:30 in the morning again all next week. We're on day 7. Every time I look at, like I said, I would do this for 20 days. I think, will I be able to talk for, do I have that much stuff in my head to say? And then I can't shut up. I just can't stop talking. So clearly that's a false belief. I never don't have something to say. I see so much good stuff happening here. Let's check in with you all before I circle back to my little notes here. From a millennial. Okay, Sierra, from a millennial, I do think that the internet plays a role. I was bullied by childhood friends online. They threatened me and made me feel so horrible about myself. But it's a great place too. I met so many amazing people like you all. Totally. It's the dark and the light, right? And the stronger one is, the stronger the other is. They just seem to like travel together. And that's why it's so important to not only like deliberately build your tribe, but also to practice focus. Like focus on what you want to grow, create, and keep asking yourself, am I creating from love or am I creating from fear? I think that that's a really important distinction to make all throughout your day, to keep when you're trying to push beyond an upper limit or when you're trying to change your life in some way, because it's incredible how often I think we are creating from a place of fear. And I'm talking about an emotion, like feeling fear in your body. If it's in your body, it's already got a lot of energetic momentum going. And it's really important to try to like move that energy and get it going in the direction you want as soon as you notice it. Don't let it continue to grow. And don't be mad at yourself when you've let it go. Remember, I was talking about that day I had where it was like one bad thing after another bad thing after another bad thing. As soon as you notice it, and as soon as you're able to be like, no, stop. I'm a witch. I am a witch. I'm calling on my power. Move on from there. Don't spend time beating yourself up about like, how could I forget that I'm a witch? How could I let this stay? How could I let this momentum build to that point? That is counterproductive. Not going to help you. Mary writes, I think it's politics. I'm in Alabama and kids are attacking the kids who are other. I think they are learning from their parents. I agree with you 100%. I think that that is so true. I mean, it's happening all around the world, I'm noticing, but I'm just speaking about America because this is where I live. Rachel, oh my God, yes. If the internet had existed when I was in high school, the bullying would have been so much worse. And I don't know that I would have been able to survive it. Yeah, it's really intense. And kids are picking up how to have these political, social discussions from their parents, the media, even school. But I see a lot of kids who don't want this negativity. Thank goodness for those kids. May they like carry the torch for us all going forward. But too, children don't have the maturity and they don't have the sophistication often to have complex conversations around these things. And they act out like their parents' anger and hatred and fear by bullying. But they aren't sophisticated in the bullying. It's like dumping water on the kid's head, pushing them down. I had someone try to break a bottle over my head. Like kids, violent speech in their parents can translate into literal, like, physical violence in these kids. And so I think as parents, it's really important to recognize too, because these bullies have parents, and no parent wants to believe that their kid is a bully. That's a really hard thing to accept. So listen if the school calls you and tells you your kid is being a bully, and get to the heart of why, because they're probably afraid. Bullies are very fearful. And so instead of scaring them further, like, how can you empower them to be less afraid and to love themselves more, and to get to a place maybe even where they can apologize to those kids, or at the very least stop bullying them. Because we have to take responsibility, right, for this going on. Somebody's kids are the bullies. Who are they? Not mine. I don't know. Nobody wants to claim these kids, but they came from somewhere. They came from someone. Oh, hi, this is new, a new person today. So Lavi Studio, when it comes to bullying and my kids, if they come home upset about something rude being said, I ask my kids if what was said is true. If it's not true, don't believe it. And if it is true, why? Okay, so you're like the Byron Katie Mother of the Year. That's awesome. I love it. I think Byron Katie's work, the work, is amazing for us to learn as people that want to empower ourselves. But it's such a simple tool that you can totally use it with children too. And it sounds like you're just naturally already doing that. So that is awesome. Melissa, I need to do some major leveling up this year. May we all. I was talking about suspending disbelief recently, and that's my theme, just my personal theme for December. And I was inviting people on Patreon to go with me that way too, but I invite you as well. Like, let us all suspend disbelief as we go into the new year in terms of what's possible for us and what we're capable of. Like, just tell yourself, I'm going to set aside this disbelief. I'm going to suspend it as I go into the new year and see what's possible. And that brings me into maybe some tips I wanted to share to you. Okay, so what are my tips? Here, I'll read a couple of quotes from Gay Hendricks because he's full of it. He's got lots of great things. I mean, he's the guy that I think coined the phrase upper limits. Letting yourself savor natural good feelings is a direct way to transcend your upper limit problem. By extending your ability to feel positive feelings, you expand your tolerance for things going well in your life. So I cut and pasted that because a bunch of words jumped out at me. Extending, expanding, like, we are here to expand. I believe that our souls are here to expand through experiencing this reality. I believe witches, law of attraction practitioners, people who believe in magic, we want to expand. We always want to expand what's possible for us. So I love too that he used the word expand, but then a word that really jumped out at me was tolerance. Expand your tolerance for things going well in your life. Seems like you shouldn't have to say that, you know, expanding your tolerance for things going well in your life. Like, I can't tolerate it. It's so awesome. But there you go. There's being human. I cannot tolerate all the love. No, I've had enough. I can't tolerate this any longer. So I think you can, like, incrementally expand and learn to tolerate and learn to accept, like, better and better and better things. And here's the word increment. He also says your capacity, again, your capacity to what? Make this amount of money, experience this many friends, have this kind of love that you've always dreamed of having, whatever it is. Your capacity expands in small increments each time you consciously let yourself enjoy the money you have, the love you feel, and the creativity you are expressing in the world. As the capacity for enjoyment expands, so does your financial abundance, the love you feel, and the creativity you express. So I'm going to go on a little rant again about Neale Donald Walsch because I drug out that book. I thought I had lost it. I was so happy to find Conversations with God and start reading it, and it's still shocking to me. It was shocking. I read it when it was brand new. I have it in hardcover, so it must be Oprah's fault. I think it came out in 2006, if I'm remembering correctly. But he was talking about money and how you're letting other people's experiences and beliefs define you instead of your own experience. And then he points out, like, how do you feel when you have a lot of money? And I'm going to ask you that. How do you feel when you have a lot of money? How do you feel when you have extra money, when you're filling up? How do you feel when you have extra money and you're able to buy something really special without like it cutting into your groceries or something? You got a little bit of extra money. Somebody sent you like a huge gift card for your favorite store, something like that. How does it feel to spend that money? How does it feel to give money or support somebody that you really enjoy? How does it feel to make money? How do you feel when you get your paycheck in your hot little hands? It feels awesome. It feels good. So why do we let someone else telling us that money is the root of all evil or money is bad override our own experience of it when we know it's good? Because it feels good. Because it feels like freedom. I mean, to me, that's what money feels like. And it gets me, and I feel joyful. I feel very bubbly on the day when I'm making extra money. I'm like, woo! And it's so easy to get into gratitude. And then that's very magnetic. That creates more money. That creates more love, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And then it's like, somebody makes some snide comment or something. I saw someone I haven't seen in maybe 20 years, a really long time. And we were just having a very polite, surfacey conversation. And he asked me what I do. And I said I was a coach. And it pushed his button so hard, it shocked me. His reaction, his whole physicality changed. And he was like, I don't think he was talking about me. I think he like left his body and went, because all I did was say I was a coach. And he was like, what does that even mean? I can't believe people do that. Like, that's lying to people, like stealing their money. Like, and I think he was thinking about like these people that are like, how to live a 6-figure life. And hello, there are people that are living 6-figure lives that are teaching that. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm not trying to tell people how to be a millionaire, because I'm not a millionaire. I teach from where I'm at. I help people. I'm just like one step ahead, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 of the people that I'm helping, because I want to move forward together. Like, that's what I'm doing. I don't know who you're talking about, but it like really instantaneously inflamed him that there are people that make a living coaching. And it did not trigger me. That was a moment where I was like, dude, something is going on here and I don't even know what it is. But it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I do have my own little notes here, but I will circle back to, because I see this moving here. Joanna, could you give tips how to enforce boundaries from a place of love and positivity instead of fear and frustration? We totally work on that in the Queen program. That is an installment there, but I'm more than happy to talk about it here for you guys too. So I will add that to the Queen episode that I'm going to do here next week for sure. Extra money feels so good to make long-awaited upgrades around the house, yes, or in life. For me, it's like food. Like we're going to the fancy restaurant, kid. And I also noticed I have a belief around food that I don't have even around like going to the doctor, like for an expensive, like all this dental work I keep saying. I have a minimum of $20,000 worth of dental work that I have to have done. And it could snowball from there. They don't know. They said it's going to be like opening a can of worms once we go there. That has kept me in fear for years, I have not taken care of myself in that way, but I take beautiful care of my son and myself with food. I buy the best food. Like I see this as a necessity. because I've experienced the power of it. It's changed our lives. And so I have a belief around that I have to make this much money to be able to afford the good food. But then I'll like, I don't know, what are other little weird things I'll do? I don't know, like my car could use some help. But I do love my car. I'm not a super materialistic person, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a materialistic person, but I get like attached to things and I love them and I will like use them till they're falling apart because my car is one of those things. Her name is Tess. I named her after Tess McGill, and I love her. And I think I anthropomorphize. I used to do this with my stuffed animals when I was a little kid. When you outgrow toys and you have to throw them away, or your parents make you pick some toys to throw away, I felt awful. Like I was hurting their feelings. It would make me sad. I bawled my head off when I had to leave my old apartment. I lived in Hollywood. My son had a bedroom and I had a little alcove in the living room. It was a tiny little apartment in Hollywood. I moved into a much, much better situation. And I was a mess when we left. I was like bawling, oh my God, because I don't know what that's about, but it's so funny. And here we go, off on another tangent. Oh, my point was, we have beliefs about what's a must. We have beliefs about what we deserve. We have beliefs about what's possible. And that's largely based on experience. So yes, circling back around to tip number 1 is look for proof. When you're trying to expand, when you're trying to do something that you don't know if it's possible, the first thing you should do is look for proof. Find other people who have done it. And then try to find people who you relate to who have done it, and like watch them and learn from them. Listen to their stories about them talking about like not only what it took to get there, but also like where did they come from? Usually people that are very successful have the most fascinating stories, and you can start building proof that this thing that you want is possible for yourself, whether it's a super loving relationship, like get yourself a Pinterest board and start pinning couples that inspire you, and start like building proof that this is a possibility. This is a real thing. This exists. Build your belief. And then as you grow incrementally, that becomes experience. That becomes your own proof. And let's use a loving relationship, for example. Let's say you're in a relationship with somebody that you love, but you have like a toxic dynamic going on that you want to change. And that's partly because you don't speak up for yourself. And so you kind of feel like you're getting run over all the time. Your partner may have no idea that that's going on. You both are just playing these roles that you expect because that, you were programmed, you were conditioned to play these roles. So one way you can build proof is to one time stand up for yourself. One time. If you're in the car going out to dinner and you always defer to the other person, and when it comes time to decide what the restaurant is, instead of saying, oh, you decide, I don't care, wherever, that's fine, say, actually, you know what, I want to try this new place across town. And it will probably surprise the other person if they've never experienced that from you before. But chances are they'll be like, okay, let's try the new place. Or they might argue a little bit because they're used to getting their way. But if you just stand firm in that, like, no, I really want to try this new place. Can we try something new for me? I think it'll be fun. And then you go and you have a good time. You have built a success. It seems like a tiny thing, but it's so huge for some people. Those moments can be life-changing, and notice it. Maybe start your own book of proof. I was talking about having a book of fear, but maybe have a book of proof where you start like tracking those experiences. Like, yes, I stood up for myself. I said, I want this thing. I got this thing. And it felt pretty awesome. You start looking for other ways in your life that you can do that. Number 2 is something that I learned from Hendricks, and that is to breathe. Because when you hit an upper limit, most of us don't breathe. We hold our breath when we're afraid. An upper limit is just fear. It's fear, right? And so he talks about when you notice that you've hit an upper limit, you you breathe into it, because you really want to change your state. You're, again, like talking about, like, once it's in your body, it's gotten a lot of momentum, and breathing is a way to release. Get on the ground, do some really like easy expanding yoga poses, like, or stretch, like do something that is expanding, like expand the space in your body and feel into it and breathe. And I think that does a couple of things. I think it's symbolic. 3 things. It's symbolic. You're changing your state, which I think is really, really powerful. And then it also gives you like a sense of being in the now, which is your point of power, so you can make a decision. Okay, so am I going to self-sabotage because I've hit this upper limit? I see it's there. I'm breathing into it, or am I going to keep going forward anyway? Am I going to maybe assign this feeling of fear as excitement? Because fear and excitement for a lot of us feel the same way in our bodies. It manifests in the same sensation. So it gives you just the power to start reframing it, and it gives you the power to move forward. Because a lot of what we do when we self-sabotage is completely, we're not even aware that we're doing it. Or maybe we have the vague sense in the back of our mind that we are, but we kind of keep doing it anyway. So just breathe. Self-talk is amazing. Talk to yourself. It's okay. It's okay. I know you're scared right now. It's scary, but it's also pretty cool and exciting, because this means that we're at this point where we get to expand or grow if we keep going forward. And let's go forward. I do that. I talk to myself all the time, and it works. I call myself sweetie. It's okay, sweetie. It's okay. I do it all the time. And then the third thing, I guess, is kind of the first thing, is celebrate every success. Every success. And again, celebrate the success of your peers. Celebrate your friend's success. Celebrate the success of that person that used to, but no longer. You refuse to let it make you feel jealous, but celebrate your success. And then say things like, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is just a little sample of what I'm capable of. I'm going to start showing myself what I'm capable of. And there's more. There's more where this came from. I know there's more where this came from. So every single time, like if you make a little bit more money this month, or you have been standing up for yourself a little bit more, or whatever it is, note it, write it down, celebrate it, have a theme song, happy dance that you do every time you notice something you can celebrate. I think the more, this is where witches have it going on, because we're very sensual. Like, to me, witchcraft is the art of spirituality. That's why the candles and the incense and the crystals and the rituals and everything, we can ritualize our success as well. And we can help support ourselves that way by bringing it into the physical reality and like physically celebrating. Even better, if you have a best friend that can nerd out with you and you guys can be like, this is a success call. You could just have that moment and see how many success calls you can have that week. Like, make it a contest or something, and whoever has the most successes has to buy the other one ice cream or a tea, something inexpensive but joyful that you guys can do together. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say about that. Oh my God, here we went another hour. It's so funny. I remember when I started these, I was like, I could just do like 15 minutes, maybe more. We'll see how it goes. And they've almost all been an hour long. Ooh. I am going to take off here, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's questions or anything. Solavi, am I saying that right? Solavi Studio. I love replacing sheets with holes in them. Dripping kitchen faucets, great toothbrushes. Yes. Good underwear. Denise Duffield Thomas has this. I've been on her newsletter list quite a few rounds. I've been on her newsletter list for years, and she will send out this old blog post. Sometimes she varies it, but I think the first time she did it was about a bra, like how women will like wear the same like raggedy, stained, old, broken down bra and underwear like forever because nobody can see it, right? But it's like a completely different thing. This is the power of glamour magic when you're wearing like really beautiful underwear and only you know. And it's like an act of self-love, but it's also a way of like going beyond your upper limits and saying of what you're worth, of how you value yourself. I'm totally worth wearing the lacy underwear, even though it's the weekend or I'm just going to my job and nobody's going to see these undies. I see them. I see them. I know they're there. Fear and excitement feels similar. Yes. Ha ha ha. How can anyone only talk for an hour? My Gemini brain will never know. We must never talk on the phone, Samantha. We'll never get off. We'll never get off. Yeah, it's really fun actually when you have a friend that can talk like that, because not everybody can take it. I know I'm a lot in person. I have to like be mindful of that. Like some people like blast their hair back. I've learned though, I have definitely reached a place of spiritual maturity where I am a good listener. But in my younger years, I'd be like, cha, 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 cha. Replacing stretched out underwear is the best. Yes, it totally is. So hopefully I will have a vlog for you both tomorrow and the next day. And then I will be back here at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. But think about suspending disbelief disbelief in what's possible for you as you move in to the new year. And I hope something that I said here resonated with you. It did for me. This was really amazing. And I totally appreciate you all. So have a beautiful weekend and a happy new moon. Much love.